Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Amy and I am pregnant. So I have reached the end of the second trimester, and so I thought it would be a good time to sit down and give you an update of how the second trimester has gone. If you didn't see my first trimester update, you can click the card and take a look at that. So one of the biggest changes in the second trimester for me is feeling my baby's movements. So I can feel my baby moving around all the time and it is wild. When I first felt the baby, it just felt like little kind of flutters or little kind of bubbles, and I wasn't 100% sure if it was movements or not. And then I remember when I got my first kind of punch and I just cried because I was just so happy that the baby was moving and that I could feel the baby, and just being able to feel baby's movements each day is so reassuring, because I mentioned in my first trimester video that I had a lot of anxiety about whether or not the baby was okay, because between scans and appointments you have no idea. So the fact that I can feel the baby move lets me know that the baby is okay, doing okay. So that makes me feel great, and it's to the point now where the movements and the kicks and things are so powerful that my husband James can feel them as well when he puts his hand on my tummy, which is just lovely. So I've loved that part of the second trimester. With baby's movements, you are able to kind of gauge whether or not they're moving enough. So they kind of settle into a pattern, or they're supposed to settle into a pattern, apparently, at some point during your second trimester. And my baby seemed to get into a pattern and then change pattern and then change pattern again. Mostly now I feel the baby move mainly first thing in the morning, a bit when I get up, a little bit throughout the day, depending on what I'm doing. The more active I am, the less I either notice or the less the baby moves. And then in the evening, the baby moves a lot. Especially then throughout the night, the baby moves a lot, so I do wake up to movements a lot. And the baby really seems to like being warm, so if I'm in the bath, the baby goes crazy, and if I'm sat with a blanket like I am now, then the baby starts moving around. Anytime I try to kind of take up my top to video to get some footage of the baby moving, my belly goes cold and the baby just stops moving. It's like, no, Mum, what are you doing? Get that blanket back on me. So apparently the baby likes things to be warm. We did have a situation towards the beginning of my second trimester, I suppose. It was the end of October, so about a month and a half ago. I had felt the baby move just a tiny bit in the morning, like a couple of movements, and then nothing for the rest of the day, and it got to about 10 p.m. and I still hadn't felt anything. And I was getting quite worried, so I called the community midwife team and they told me just to come in so that they could check everything was okay. So that was quite nerve-wracking, but when we went, the baby was fine and they checked for a heartbeat. The heartbeat was there, really strong, and then when she was looking for the heartbeat and listening to it, there was this other sound and she was like, oh, that's a movement. So I just wasn't feeling them that day for some reason. Hasn't really happened since. My placenta is at the front, so that can sometimes make it difficult to feel movements, and I know that some women with placentas at the front barely feel movements, which must be quite concerning. I think I would find that quite concerning, but I suppose if you know that that's consistent throughout your pregnancy, then you know to expect that, whereas for me, I was getting a lot of movement and then one day I just wasn't feeling anything. But everything was fine. The midwife team were amazing. When I was there, I was so relieved that the baby was okay that I just burst into tears, and I kind of said, I'm really sorry, I don't want to waste your time, because this is the NHS, they don't have a massive amount of resources and time, but they just said to me, anytime you feel like this, give us a call. We would rather you come in every single day of your pregnancy to check everything is okay than you go a whole day thinking something's wrong and don't check and then something ends up being wrong. Also, while I was there, I was on the labour ward because it was nighttime, so antenatal and everything was closed. And down the corridor, a woman was giving birth, screaming at the top of her lungs. And I got so scared. I was thinking, I am not ready to hear any of this. And the midwife said to me, oh, don't worry, just ignore that. And then, in the room right next to us, which I didn't hear a sound come from, a midwife came out and said, baby's just been born. So I guess everyone experiences labour differently. At our second scan during the second trimester, baby was measuring in the 95th percentile of pretty much everything. So that's head, abdomen, legs, everything. And so they said that we needed to come back for another scan in a couple of weeks because baby was growing very fast and was very big, and that means heavy. So we did go back in a couple of weeks. Being bigger is much less of a worry than being too small, so I wasn't too concerned, apart from the fact that I'm going to have to birth this child. So we went back after a couple of weeks and everything was normal. We have since been back for another scan because we have a few extra scans due to me having different illnesses, and baby's growth seems fine. Maybe slightly higher than average, but fine. Mostly just long, which as long as the baby's head isn't bigger than average, then fine. One thing that really has not been very fun during this second trimester is that I have been diagnosed with symphysis. I'm going to have to look at this on my phone. Symphysis pubis dysfunction, or as it's now more commonly known, pelvic girdle pain, which is a condition that anyone can get during pregnancy. I was at slightly higher risk for it because I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which means that all of my joints are very loose anyway. And in pelvic girdle pain, the reason that it's happening is because your pelvis kind of separates a bit too much. I am not a doctor, but basically your pelvis does kind of come open a little bit when you are pregnant because everything's getting a little bit stretchier, ready for you to give birth. But with pelvic girdle pain, the pelvis is separating a bit too much, and also that can affect your hip joints and everything around it as well. So basically I'm getting pain in my pelvis, in my lower back and in my hips, and it feels like everything's kind of grinding together and it can get really painful. So I already have problems with my hips anyway because of my EDS, and this has just exacerbated that quite a bit. Sometimes I'll just be sitting and all of a sudden I will get really horrible lower back pain. It'll just come out of nowhere and take a while to kind of get it to go away, and it can make walking quite difficult. My consultant did say to me that many women with pelvic girdle pain do end up in a wheelchair by the end of their pregnancy, so that's fun. I am seeing a physiotherapist because before I was diagnosed with this, I went to the GP and said, I'm having trouble with my hips because of my EDS, can I please see a physiotherapist? So I'm seeing a physiotherapist and they've given me some exercises and things to do, and I go once a week at the moment. We're having a little bit of a break over Christmas just because it's all very busy, but I go there and they do some kind of massage, very deep massage in some areas around my pelvis and hips and things. That can get quite painful, but afterwards you can tell that it's helping. There's not a lot you can do for pelvic girdle pain, unfortunately. I have these exercises to try and keep things as kind of strong as possible, but really the only way to resolve pelvic girdle pain is to have the baby. So we're a little bit far off that at the moment. So we'll just have to see how this all progresses. I've also got a pelvic kind of support band, and that is just to kind of support the pelvis and hold everything in a little bit, and I do feel that it supports my hips. It's not super comfortable to wear, but I do notice when I'm walking and wearing it that it is definitely helping. I do enjoy taking it off at the end of the day, but it's definitely something that if you are experiencing pelvic girdle pain, you might want to ask your doctor or physiotherapist about. You can just buy them on Amazon, but I will link the one in the description box below that I have. so that you can have one that's come recommended if you want to do so. I do almost all of my exercises on a lovely exercise ball, which is quite fun. It has a ring around the bottom so that it doesn't roll away from underneath me and I don't end up hurting myself, which is very handy. Another thing in the second trimester, which I think I probably mentioned in the first trimester video as well, is that I am so tired. I am really tired. I feel like it kind of got a bit better at the beginning of the second trimester. I wasn't feeling as tired and I didn't require naps as often and it wasn't such an issue, but now, just even recording this video, I am so tired. I am sleeping a lot, as in I go to bed and then I wake up quite late in the day. Fortunately, I am able to do that because of my schedule. I don't sleep well during the night. I wake up so much during the night because of the pelvic girdle pain, so my hips and my pelvis and my back will be hurting a lot. I wake up from being kicked by my baby a lot. Baby's movements wake me up quite a bit, and also I am still having nightmares, so that wakes me up, although I feel like that is getting better. I think I mentioned that in my first trimester, that I was getting nightmares almost every night. I think that is getting slowly better. So kind of lack of sleep, I guess preparing me for parenthood, and just feeling really, really tired. There's kind of a level of tired throughout the day, and then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, I'll be whacked in the face with a tired stick and just be absolutely exhausted, which, to be honest, is something that I have experienced having chronic fatigue syndrome anyway, so maybe they're just kind of working together now. Another thing that's been going on during the second trimester is that I keep getting very emotional, and this probably was happening during the first trimester anyway, because I did mention in that video that I was feeling quite low. Now I just will cry for no reason or over the smallest things, and my husband will say to me, "Oh no, what's wrong?" And I'll be like, "Well, nothing really. I just am crying and I just feel sad." And sometimes I get a bit kind of irritated or frustrated, a little bit angry about very small things. It's not happening that often, but this is very new to me because I'm not an angry person. If I'm going to feel any kind of negative emotion, then I'll be upset. I don't usually get angry and cross about things, so that's a bit annoying. I don't like being in a bad mood, and I guess this is all just part of being very hormonal as a pregnant woman. Now, it wouldn't be a pregnancy update video if I didn't talk about my boobs, would it now? So now in the second trimester, they are just massive, and they have always been much too big for my liking. Now they are even bigger and heavier, and I am not enjoying that at all. I'm sure that some women quite enjoy that because they have regular size boobs to begin with, but for me this is not fun. We have started buying baby things that we are going to need. We have pushchair and car seat. We have a few other bits and pieces. I've put some bits on my stories on Instagram, so if you don't follow me on there, now's the time. But we did one day go into Mothercare because they were having a sale because they're closing down, and we wanted to go and have a look at all of the baby things, and I stood in the middle of the breast pump aisle and just burst into tears because I was so overwhelmed. I just didn't know enough. I didn't feel informed enough about the different brands and the different things that I was going to need, and you know, they all vary in price, so I didn't know what was the best thing to do, and I did freak out about that a little bit. But I came home, I spoke to a couple of people I know who have had children fairly recently. They gave me some great advice. James and I did our research. I do love to do a bit of research, that does make me feel better. James made an Excel spreadsheet of everything we need, and we are just slowly ticking things off. My belly button is turning inside out. This was not something that I was prepared for. So I have always had an innie belly button, and now it is slowly kind of turning into an outie belly button, which I know happens. I just didn't think that I would find it so weird. So I have this scar that usually runs just inside my belly button from when I had my gallbladder removed, and now the scar is way on the outside of my belly button because there is hardly any innie left. So eventually I guess it will turn into an outie, and that will be an extremely interesting experience for me. I'm waiting to wake up one day and pop, there it is. I suppose the only other thing that people might be interested in are stretch marks. I don't have any yet on my belly, but there is still plenty of time for that. Don't you worry. I am not expecting to get through this whole pregnancy without stretch marks. They are just a natural part of what happens when your body stretches and grows rapidly to be able to grow a healthy human. So we shall see what happens with that. I don't think there is anything else that I am missing, but of course, as always, if you do have questions, let me know in the comments below. You can also ask me over on Instagram. I'm eating a lot of chocolate, by the way. My appetite has certainly come back. Some days I can eat loads and other days I get full really, really quickly. I'm wondering if that depends on where the baby is and what the baby's pressing on. Oh, and also I'll be absolutely fine and then all of a sudden I will need to go to the toilet. It's like I'll stand up and everything will just move and the bladder gets squashed and it's like, okay, I need a wee now, thanks. So I'm going to show you the belly now. If you don't want to see my pregnant belly, then look away now. But you know, natural part of life. So this is my belly right now and it just feels like it's getting bigger and bigger by the day. Depending on what clothes I wear, it looks bigger or kind of smaller, but there is no denying that it is definitely there now. If you found this video interesting, helpful, you didn't hate it, please do give it a thumbs up as it really helps out the channel. Don't forget to subscribe so that you can see more videos like this and eventually videos with a baby in them. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you next time.